Silence. The court has heard enough of your testimony.
Sometimes in life, we reach a place where our strength feels small and our prayers feel unanswered. A place where we whisper to God in the dark, but morning comes and nothing seems to change. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe you've cried for help that never came, prayed prayers that felt like they disappeared into the air, and wondered deep inside your heart, does God still see me? Does God still hear me? If you've ever felt forgotten, if you've ever felt pushed aside by life, if you've ever carried a pain that nobody else understands, then this story is for you. This simple, ancient story told by Jesus himself is a message written exactly for you. A story about a woman who had nothing left. No husband, no support, no strength, no one to fight for her, no one to speak for her. Except one thing, she still held on to her faith, and that faith, that little, stubborn, quiet faith, moved something that seemed unmovable.
I have reached a decision. I will grant the widow justice.
This is not just a story about a widow and a judge. This is a story about you, about every person who has ever cried in silence, about every heart that refuses to give up, even when the world gives you 1,000 reasons to stop. Because today, through this story, Jesus wants to remind us of one thing. You are not forgotten. Your prayers have not been ignored, and God will answer, even if the answer has taken a long time to come. Now, let us begin the story of the widow, the unjust judge, and the God who never fails those who keep believing.
Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?
Long ago, in a small town, there lived a woman who carried deep pain in her heart. She was a widow. Her husband had died, leaving her alone in the world. She had no family close to defend her, no one to stand by her side when life became heavy. Many people ignored her. Many overlooked her. Yet a small strength lived within her, a quiet belief that justice was still possible in this world. She believed that God still saw her tears and heard her silent cries, even though other people choose to ignore her. This widow had suffered much. She walked the streets each day in simple, worn clothes, her steps slow but determined. Life had pressed her down again and again, but it had not crushed her hope completely. Even in her loneliness, she held on to her faith in God. In that same town lived a judge, but he was not a kind man. He did not fear God, and he did not respect the people around him. The suffering of others meant nothing to him.
Enough! Your arguments are meaningless. The court rules against you.
Tears did not move him. Pain did not soften him. His heart was hard like stone, and he cared for nothing else but only for himself. People feared him. Many are turned away before they can even approach him, knowing he rarely listened and rarely cared for other people's feelings. But the widow had a problem that only the judge could fix. Someone had wronged her. Someone had taken advantage of her simple life, leaving her hurt and without help. She needed justice, and the judge was the only one with the power to give it. Then he spoke a parable to them, that men always ought to pray and not lose heart, saying, There was in a certain city a judge who did not fear God, nor regard man. Now there was a widow in that city, and she came to him, saying, Get justice for me from my adversary. Luke 18:1 verse 3. So she went to him. Her feet were tired, but her faith was awake. Though the judge did not fear God, but she believed in God. And she believed that justice could still be found, even from a man who cared nothing about her. When she reached the judge's hall, she heard people whispering. Some said the judge listened only when money was involved. Others said a widow like her had no chance. But she did not turn back. She lifted her head and walked forward with hope. Inside, the judge sat high above the room, while poor, helpless people stood below, pleading for fair judgment. He dismissed them with a careless wave of his hand. Many trembled before him. Others left with disappointment. But the widow did not run. She stepped forward with courage and presented her request. Her words were simple. Her heart was sincere. She asked for justice for the wrong someone has done to her. The judge looked at her without care, without interest, without compassion. He waved her away just as he had done to the others. But the widow's spirit did not break. This was only the beginning of her journey. She was not finished, and she would not give up. A new day rose over the small town. Morning light touched the rooftops, and people moved through the streets with quiet purpose. But the widow woke up with the same burden, the same pain, and the same determination. Her heart knew only one path. She would go again to the judge who had refused her the day before. Her steps were slow, her clothes worn, yet her eyes carried a steady strength. Inside the judge's hall, people gathered as usual, carrying fear and worry. The judge entered with the same cold expression he wore every single day. He cared for no one. He respected no one. He listened to no one. But then he saw her again, the widow. She had returned to him. She stood before him and asked once more for justice, for help, for relief from the one who wronged her. The judge sighed with annoyance. He dismissed her again, waving her away as though her presence was an insult to him. But the widow did not stop coming to him. Her hope did not fade. She walked out knowing she would return to him until the judge listened to her. Day by day. With each sunrise, she returned to the judge.
I am alone.
She came again and again. Never angry, never loud, never aggressive. She simply showed up day after day, like a quiet shadow the judge could not escape.
Though I have nothing left but my voice, I must ask again for your protection. Grant me justice against my adversary.
I've heard enough. The petition is denied.
People whispered about her persistence. Some admired her courage. Others pitied her suffering. But no one could deny her strength. The judge grew frustrated. Her footsteps outside his door became the sound he feared. Her voice, humble and steady, reached him every morning. Even in his private room, he could not rest, pacing back and forth, wondering why this woman would not stop coming to him. He did not fear God, and he did not care about people. Yet this widow wore down his patience more than anyone ever had. Outside the hall, the widow often knelt in quiet prayer. Her body was tired, but her spirit remained unshaken. Passers-by watched her with amazement. Her persistence became a sign of courage in a place filled with fear. Inside, the judge reached a breaking point. He rose from his seat one day and stormed out with anger and exhaustion. When he saw her again, kneeling at the entrance, he questioned why she continued to return despite every rejection. The widow responded with gentle strength, reminding him simply of her need for justice. Her calmness struck him more deeply than loud demands ever could. At last, the judge became weary and overwhelmed. He spoke to himself, admitting that although he did not fear God or care for people, he could no longer endure her constant coming. She troubled him. Her persistence wore him out, and he realized the widow would continue coming until justice was done to the person that wronged her. Finally, he surrendered to exhaustion. He decided he would grant her justice, not out of kindness, not out of compassion, but simply so she would no longer come to him every day. He chose to give her what she had been asking for long, hoping at last to find peace from her relentless, continuous coming. A new morning rose over the small town. Soft sunlight touched the widow's little home as she stepped outside once again. She carried the same burden in her heart, yet today she felt a quiet hope she could not explain. With steady footsteps, she walked toward the courthouse, trusting that God had heard her prayers. Inside the hall, the judge sat restlessly. His heart was tired from days of being confronted by the widow's continuous coming. He knew she would return, just as she always did. And soon enough, the door opened and she entered. She bowed respectfully, but before she could even speak, something different happened. The judge moved forward. His face was still not friendly, still impatient. But now there was a strange determination in his eyes. He spoke clearly and loudly for all to hear. He declared that at last he would give her justice. He would settle her case. He would stop the one who had been troubling her. And he would not for a while. But afterward he said within himself, "Though I do not fear God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubles me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me." Luke 18, verse 4 and 5. He admitted to himself that her continuous coming had worn him out, and because she continued to come without giving up, he would finally act. The widow stood frozen in disbelief. Tears rolled down from her eyes as relief washed over her. All her long days of walking, her private prayers, her loneliness, and her suffering had carried her to this moment. The judge who feared no God and respected no person had finally spoken justice on her behalf. She stepped out of the building with trembling joy, her heart freed from the heavy burden she had carried for a long time. Jesus told this story to his disciples and explained the meaning of the story to them. He told them to listen carefully to the words of the unjust judge. If a man with no compassion could eventually give justice simply because someone refused to give up, how much more would God respond quickly and lovingly to his people who cry out to him day and night? Jesus reminded them that God is nothing like the unjust judge. God listens, God cares, God acts in his perfect time. Then Jesus asked a question that carried deep weight. When the Son of Man comes, would he find faith on the earth? Would he find people who still trust, who still believe, who still pray without giving up? And so Jesus teaches every generation the same truth. When life feels heavy, when answers seem delayed, when God feels silent, we must not stop praying, we must not lose heart. For God is good, God is faithful, and he hears every cry of his people. Sometimes life feels like that widow, alone, ignored, pushed aside, talking, but nobody listening, praying. But heaven feels silent, fighting, but the battle never seems to end. Yet that woman teaches us something that can break even the hardest heart. She had nothing, but she refused to give up. She had no husband to defend her, no money, no influence, no strength. But she still showed up every single day. Every morning she stepped out of her small, painful life and faced a world that didn't care about her. And still, she kept walking. She kept asking. She kept believing. Even when everything around her said, "Stop trying." And that is the lesson that shakes the soul. Your breakthrough is not always about being strong. Sometimes it's about not quitting. The unjust judge didn't answer because he was good. He answered because the woman refused to go away. And Jesus said, "If an unjust man can give justice, how much more will your Father in heaven fight for you?" This story is a reminder for anyone who's crying in secret, anyone who wakes up with pain, anyone who feels forgotten, anyone who is tired of praying the same prayer. God heard you the first time. But He smiles when you keep coming, because every time you return in prayer, you are telling heaven, "I still believe," and God answers faith like that. So to anyone watching this right now, don't stop, don't quit, don't let go. You may feel small like that widow, but your continuous coming can move mountains. Your tears can touch heaven. Your faith can break open doors that have been locked for years. If this story touched you, if it felt like your own life, if you felt God whisper to you while watching, then don't leave this video without doing one thing. Hold on to God and keep knocking. Your answer is closer than you may think. My friends, if this story spoke to your heart today, if you felt God whisper something to you, I want to invite you to do something simple. Leave a comment below and tell us which part of the story touched you the most. Your words might encourage someone else who is watching out there, and if this message blessed you, please like this video and share it with someone who needs hope. You may never know whose faith you might help today. If you enjoy Bible stories told in this deep, simple, and life-changing way, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel.
Public humiliation.
More powerful stories are coming. Stories that will lift your faith, strengthen your prayer life, and remind you that God is still working. And make sure you turn on the notification bell, because the next video will be special. It will be another touching Bible story designed to inspire you, encourage you, and draw you closer to God. Thank you so much for watching. Stay blessed and keep holding on
To you
to
too,
God.
Naboth. Your vineyard is lovely, well kept and full of life. I've seen it from my palace window, and I have a thought to share with you.